Okay, so another way I learn is by listening. And NotebookLM, it's a Google attachment, and you can put your notes, like you can insert them, and it'll make a podcast from your notes. And when I tell you, it breaks down your notes so well, it literally like teaches me better than my teacher sometimes. It summed up my whole bio class. It was good. And like it's actually fun to listen to because it's like a two-person conversation, like how we're having like a podcast right now. It's
Yeah.
just like two people talking back and forth, and it could be about any topic. So I definitely recommend Notebook LM.
That's Aryss Richardson, who is currently enrolled in an accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. Now, this is not Aryss's first time on the show, and it won't be her last. She is a first-year nursing student, and we are going to follow her journey. On this episode, we discuss how she's navigating the transition from high school to college. We also talk about effective study habits and just how she's leveraging technology to help her succeed. We're going to drop in on Aryss from time to time, and we're going to follow her from her first year all the way through graduation. So stay tuned as we start this journey with Aryss Richardson. This is the Academic Survival Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Chandra McDonald. Statistics show that approximately 40% of students drop out of college every year. In fact, nearly 30% drop out their first year. Well, I am on a mission to improve these stats. Aryss, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good. It feels good to be invited back. Like you love me
Yes.
so much.
Yes, I absolutely do. And it's good to have you back. It's good to see you, even though people can't see us, but I can see you. For people who haven't heard the previous episode, there's an earlier episode where Aryss is on the show, and she, at the time, she was in high school, but she was in a program that basically high school and college at the same time, right?
Mhm.
But she still has to officially graduate from high school and then officially begin her college only journey. And at that time, she shared with us that she wanted to become a nurse. So a lot has happened since the last time we spoke. So Aryss, tell us what's going on.
Okay, so right now I am in an accelerated BSN program. BSN is Bachelor's in Science of Nursing.
All
The
right.
school I currently go to, it takes about 3 years to graduate with this degree. And yeah, you start off in your like basic curriculum, and then you go into core, which core is nursing school.
It's an accelerated program, 3 years. So then what does that look like from week to week? How fast are your classes moving? Like how long is a semester?
The semester's 16 weeks, but the way that my classes are divided is I have two classes every 8 weeks, so four classes in a semester. The workload is way more than an average class. Yeah, my classes move very fast. I completed my first half of the semester 3 weeks ago, and I have midterms for my next half of the semester this week.
Jeez,
So
that's really fast. What classes did you take this year, but the first part of your semester? And what classes are you in now? And tell me a little bit about those.
the first two classes I took was Bio 189, that's intro into medical nursing, and then I took Math 151, and it's just like basic college math. Bio 189 was difficult for me. I completed it. I actually passed with a B, but at my school, you can't pass with anything but an A or a B. So I passed by 189 with a B. It was difficult. I originally took that class when I was at CSN, and I withdrew from the class due to it being hard for me. But the second time around, I had it better. Like I entered the class with better strategy.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I was just way more prepared. And then the Math 151 class, it was literally like everything that I had done in high school. So it was really simple for me as well.
Okay. Okay.
The classes I'm currently taking right now are statistics and psychology 240. So this is my second psychology class. Statistics is very hard.
Mm,
That
yeah.
thing could prepare one for a stats class. I just like stats is so difficult. I think that if it was put on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be 11.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a hard time in my stats class. It was so hard. I remember going to the bathroom crying, and when I got in there was another classmate crying too. I was like, "This is awful." You
My
said something about
classmates, they just smile and say yes to everything that the teacher says.
but are they lost?
Yeah, everybody's lost. The teacher actually walked up to me and he asked me like 5 questions. I was scared for my life. I had left the class because I had to take a call because I thought it was like an important call, but it was just
Uh-huh.
somebody's number that I didn't have saved. And I came back and he walks up to my desk and he's like, yeah, so I had a dice on my desk because, we're talking about probability.
Okay.
And he walks up to me with 2 more dice.
Mhm.
And he goes, "So tell me what the probability of this would be if you were to roll a 3." I was like, I think I was like 1 out of 6 because, there's 1 3 on the dice. So it's like 1 out of 6. He was like, "Yeah, no. The problem with that is it's a 5-sided dice. Every side is a 5." Like, sir, I'm not looking at the dice. I'm just telling you the probability of the one, like, a regular dice. Like, and he
Right.
just thought it was so funny. So, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Can you share with us a little something about your math class? Your first math class?
Okay, so the way that my school is set up, you don't choose your classes. They pick your classes for you because you're on a course plan.
Mhm.
And I entered my school late. Well, not late, but right on time. So
Mhm.
I didn't get to go to orientation and I wasn't completely sure about what day my class was on. So they give you a schedule as to what days like the math classes are on and the teacher. So me being me, I just look at the first day that the math 151 class is on and I see my teacher's name under it. So I'm like, okay, boom, I found my class. I attended this class for 3 weeks. And one day the teacher walks up to me and she's like, what's your name? I'm like, Aryss Richardson. She's like, yeah, no, you're not in this class. I'm like, I'm not what? Not in this class. I was like, "Yes, I am." She was like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Yes, I am. See?" She was like, "No. You see it says Wednesday?" I'm like, "Oh, snaps." She was like, "Yeah, just come to the Wednesday class from now on." So then I switched classes completely, and when I got to the Wednesday class, everybody was looking at me like, "Who is this girl and where did she come from?" Like, yeah, so that was embarrassing. It
I
was.
bet. I bet. All right, so then your major then, is your major nursing? Is that how that works?
Mhm.
Or is it okay. And then you said when you graduate, you'll have a BSN, a Bachelor's
Yes.
of Science in Nursing. Okay. Tell me what has inspired you to go down this nursing path?
So I had a younger sister. Her name is Autumn, and unfortunately, she passed away due to some issues like within healthcare and how the providers took care of her when she was sick. And that just wanted like how they didn't take care of my sister. I want to go and take care of a child the proper way, like be the nurse to do everything correctly to try to save the child's life, do everything I can to help
Yeah.
somebody. My
Yeah.
original path wasn't nursing. I was gonna go to med school. I wanted to be a doctor. I'm still going to go to med school. It just may be later and I might be 70, but you know.
Okay.
So, yeah. But my sister is the reason why I'm pursuing a career in healthcare.
Do you think that had that not happened to your sister that you might have gone down a different path?
No, I think it just gave me more of a push to go down
Mhm.
this path. I've always liked helping people.
So now that you are in nursing school, do you feel that there was anything that you could have done or should have done in high school that would have made you more prepared for being in nursing school now?
Yes. So the opportunity that was given to me in high school, I don't feel as though I took it for granted. I just wish that I knew the path that I was going to go down. You know how things change. So since I did go to early college, high school, I had the opportunity to take classes to take it off of my degree plan like later on. But I was
Mhm.
taking classes for like I was just taking general ed classes, but now that I'm in my gen ed, I wish that I took more classes towards nursing so I would be
Mm,
further in. I have a whole
okay.
semester now due to the math classes and the English classes I took, but if I was to take more like bio classes and anatomy classes, I would be deeper in.
Oh, and you wouldn't have to be taking them now.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. What barriers did you face transitioning from high school to college, or did you face any barriers?
I faced a ton of barriers. One of them being that not a lot of people have graduated high school or even went to college in my family. Dr. McDonald here is one of a few that have graduated and has a doctorate. She tried her best
Yay.
to help me. It's just that I didn't ask for help until later, until it was closer to the end. So that's where I messed up at. But getting to college is hard, especially on your own. And nobody really talks about that. Like, first, it's applications, which is okay. Like, I can apply to college. You get accepted into college, cool. Then it's like, what steps do you take from there? What steps do I take to get me there? And that's just not something that I was talked to about enough, or my school didn't really communicate that to us, especially
Which
my
is
school being.
weird, right? That's kind of weird being as your school is like a high school college.
Mhm. So that was just like one of the biggest things. And then when it came to like time to pay for school, so I have scholarships, but nobody talks about how you need to send your scholarships in advance because
Mm.
when the colleges are looking for their money, they want their money now. They want it now. They're not waiting until payday. They want it today, the day that it's due. They show no mercy. So definitely sending scholarships early and then just being able to communicate more. I wish that I made a friend at the college that I was originally supposed to go to and not just like a friend another kid,
What do
like
you
a friend.
let's talk a little bit about that. The college that you were originally supposed to go to was
Southern. I was supposed to go to Southern A&M. I never
okay.
told anybody. Everybody was always asking me like, "Aryss, what college are you going to? Like, what college are you going to?" And I'm like, "I'm not telling you." Yeah, I was originally supposed to go to Southern. Some things happened and I didn't end up going there, but I don't think it was God's plan for me.
Mhm.
And I learned that later on, and I'm actually grateful to be where I am because I prayed for the times that I am. Like I prayed to be where I am right now. So I'm
Mm.
grateful. I just I really do wish that people do talk more about like how it isn't easy. Like I wish there was a bullet point list of things and to-dos that you need to do before you go to college or you need to do to get to college. So,
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be a upward bound student, and so that completely walked me through the process. As far as, like, going to a university, like, there was no one there to show me the way but for the Upward Bound program. So it was really helpful to when I was a part of Upward Bound at Long Beach State, and that's also the college that I wanted to go to. It's a good thing I got in because it was the only college I applied to. But being a part of that program, they had a day where we filled out our applications, and then when we were done, they provided us the waivers so that we didn't have to pay for the applications to actually apply, and then they walked in our they, like, basically walked in our applications for both admissions to the university, but then also the EOP program, that application was walked in. So literally, it was like your hand being held. And so I didn't have to figure that part out. It made it
mhm.
super easy. And then once I graduated from high school, I directly went into Long Beach State Summer Bridge program. And that too was like a hand holding process. There was a part of Summer Bridge where we actually participated in the student orientation and registration, and getting our classes was part of the summer bridge experience. So, yeah, I didn't have to guess. I didn't have to wonder or worry. It was so super easy because there was someone there helping us and pointing us in the right direction every step of the way.
And then another thing is you were there. I feel
What do you
like
mean?
so Southern is 3,000 miles away from home.
Yeah, yeah.
and just walk up to an office and be like, "Hey guys, you didn't answer my calls 15 times." So, you know, this
Right?
and then
Yeah, no, for real. That's real. Because I was on Long Beach State's campus, like, all the time.
yeah, and then another thing was not applying to other schools. I applied strictly to HBCUs and a
Mhm.
few PWIs, but I was just like under this like spell. Like I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere in Las Vegas. Like I'm not gonna live here. Like I was just so sure. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not even gonna apply to UNLV in Nevada State because it's pointless. Like I don't need to apply. I'm not going there. So for the children and the high schoolers that are getting ready to apply for schools and are applying for schools, have a safety school.
Okay.
Have a safety school. That is really important. Like, it may not be where you wanna go, but being nowhere is worse than doing something that you didn't wanna do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I like that. Being nowhere is worse.
yeah. So,
Absolutely. Is there any other advice you would give high school students as preparation to deal with some of the same barriers or hurdles?
yeah, I definitely start early. If you're in your senior year now, you should have started in your junior year, but it's okay because you still have time. And if you're in your junior year and it's coming to an end, you need to start now. And then applying to scholarships. Scholarships are the most important thing. Scholarships are so important. You just can't pull $35,000 out of nowhere. Like, scholarships are super important and they will save you. And honestly, sometimes people are like, oh, don't apply to more than what you need. Apply to more. Because when that check comes, it's going to feel bliss.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't apply for any scholarships. 0.
Why?
You know, when I was in high school, it wasn't really a thing. If you were getting a scholarship, it was either an academic scholarship or an athletic scholarship, and you were sought after. But, like, now, there's just so many places where you can get a scholarship. That's what it feels now. It's like about so many entities that are desiring to support students. That wasn't what things were like. I applied for a grant. I ended
Hmm.
up getting 2 grants, a Pell Grant and a Cal Grant, and those covered my expenses. And then when I went into my master's program, I applied for a fellowship, and that was super simple. And then there was this one fellowship that the financial aid office was, like, trying to push on me, but it required you to go into teaching. I was like, "I do not want this scholarship." Like, how many times I had to tell you people, "Stop trying to give me this money. I don't plan on being a teacher." But I did have one year where there was extra money. Like, this is so weird because this kinda stuff doesn't happen anymore. But I remember one year there was extra money and I decided I was gonna take summer school, but I was gonna have to pay for it out of my own pocket. But for me, out of my own pocket really just meant the financial aid money that I had saved 'cause you end up with a little bit more, and I
Hmm.
wasn't foolish with the more because, I don't know, like, back when I was in school, that financial aid disbursement didn't come early. And so you usually like, we needed our books before the money came. And because we needed our books before the money actually, arrived, anything that was like a little bit left over from the first semester, I made sure that I didn't spend it frivolously. I saved it so that I could spend it on books for the following semester. And so at one point, I had enough money and I was taking summer school. So, well, I was going to take summer school. I signed up for summer school. And then the financial aid department, the financial aid office, rather, notified students to let them know that there was extra funds available if anybody wanted to go to summer school. And I was like, "Oh, man, I already paid for it." And so I contacted the office and said, "I already paid for summer school. Like, can you refund me?" And they were like, "We sure can." And they gave me my money back and applied
Wow.
and then I know, right? Gave me my money back and then the money that was available for summer school that they transferred those funds over. So, yeah, it was nice.
I wish.
All right, so now that you have been immersed in college, that's like straight college and not high school and college at the same time, now that you've been immersed in this experience, explain how college has differed from high school, especially since you are in a specialized college.
Specialized it is. It is very special. Okay.
Everybody there going to be a nurse, right?
Yeah, so it's not asking around like, "Oh, what's your major?" Nursing, just like you. I feel like college is different from high school. Well, my college is different from any school. I went to community college in high school, and what I can say is that everybody was older than me. And here again, everybody is older than me again.
Mm,
Everybody that I'm surrounded with has goals. Like they are determined to get there,
mm,
whether it's for their children or just for their families, because they've experienced life because they're older. So their determination is just like on 10.
yeah.
So that's one
Well, when you
thing.
say they're older than you, like, by how much? You're not talking about, like, a year or 2, you're talking about, like, 10 years, 15 years,
20
20 years?
years.
20
Yeah,
years, huh? Wow.
15, 20 years. Like everybody's a lot of people are like old enough to be my mom. They treat me like a baby. I think it's so fun. Another thing that's really different is I go to school year round.
Oh,
I
okay.
get a break. And that is completely different. High school and even any other college, you get a break. You
Mhm.
go get your winter break, you get your summer break. No winter break, no summer break, no spring break.
That is how they are going to crank you out in 3 years, right? They have to redeem the time. I remember in high school for Christmas break getting off 2 weeks, but when I got into college, it was like 5 weeks, and I was
Mm.
like, "Oh, this is wonderful." Oh, it was wonderful. So, yeah, you are not gonna know what that feels like. You are
Yeah,
not gonna know what that feels like.
I get a week break every 16 weeks, so thanks.
Well, we've already talked about, like, one of the mishaps you've had since you've been in college, and that being sitting in the wrong class for a few weeks. Have there been any other mishaps?
No, not really. I accidentally walked into the wrong study group one time, and I was like, "Hey, guys," and I was like, "Oh, you guys are not my classmates." But
I used to have a mishap every year around finals time. So, my classes were Monday, Wednesday classes, and then I took Tuesday, Thursday classes, and then I didn't have Friday classes. But in some cases, finals week is just weird. You have to look at the schedule because the day of your final may not be the day that you would normally meet in that class session, or it might be the same day but at a different time. I remember showing up to a class like an hour late, like the final was already in session and I showed up at the wrong time because I didn't know. I was like, this class normally starts at 11. Why would I come at 10? Kind of thing. So I had that mishap. Then I had a mishap where the night before, I left the dome light on in my car, and so when I got in the car to go to class, my battery's dead. You're kidding me. I can't get to class. I didn't have a way to get to class. There was no Uber, there was no Lyft, my mom was at work. How am I gonna get to class? Because Long Beach State, for the most part, was a commuter college, so I had to call up a friend who happened to be home. She went to Cal State Fullerton, and she came to my house and picked me up and and took me to class, and so that was my second mishap, and then I had another mishap just altogether, got to the class, and, like, the final was over. I had to find the professor. I think it was a history class. Like, history is boring already, at least to me, and so it's like, "Oh my gosh, I stayed up so late trying to, like, cram and didn't have a lot of energy and literally got to class just feeling, like, mentally lost, like, "Where is everybody? How come there's nobody in this classroom?" And then to find out that the final had already occurred, and then I was looking for the professor. I went to I think it was, like, the history department to find my professor, and they're like, "I don't know if he's still around. I think he's going to New York." And I'm like, "What?"
New
So I
York.
had to yeah, like, I had to track him down, and he was so kind to let me take the final exam, like, in his office. That's, like, 3 different times where I had something awful happen.
I pray nothing awful happens during finals week. That will send me on edge.
Yeah, so how busy is your schedule?
Oh my gosh. I don't have time for life. And that may sound so like exaggerated, but it's not. I go to class on Mondays online, but I also work from 8 to 4, and my class starts at 6. Everybody knows what that 5 o'clock traffic is like. So imagine eat traffic to go to class. We have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's studying. Friday, I volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club.
Aw.
Saturday, I go to my hospital internship. And then guess what I do after the internship? I go to class on Saturday, and Sunday is church. So I have something to do every single day of my life. And when I don't have something to do, I do have something to do. Homework. Yeah.
Yes, yes. There's just no downtime. No
No.
downtime. I remember always having homework with me. Like, for me, I was big on flashcards. So I always have flashcards in my purse. And, like, not like digital flashcards, like, for me, part of the learning process is to manually write down the information, right? But for real, I use old school index cards, and then I will hole punch them, and then I put a little ring through the hole when I'm walking to class, flipping through my flashcards. If I was, like, standing in line at the bookstore, I mean, that's not a thing anymore, I don't think, but, like, anything, I would always have homework with me, always.
I always have my computer or my tablet with me. You just never know when it's time to turn in an assignment. So,
So how is it juggling work and school? Because that's not easy. I never could have done that.
yeah, right now, honestly, sometimes it's stressful. Sometimes you're tired from coming from work for 8 hours, and then you have to go home and do homework or even go to class. But what has to be done has to get done. So
So do you have a favorite subject? A favorite subject so far, or is there a subject that you're looking forward to?
I look forward to clinicals and, you know, experimenting on cadavers, which sounds
Ugh.
actually psychotic, but
Oh, that sounds awful.
but my favorite subject has always been English. I remember when Dr. McDonald used to peer edit my essays and tell me how bad they were until they progressively got better.
What? I never told you your stuff was bad.
I just remember the first one I sent you, and that's really it.
I remember I read something when you were in, I think it was your senior year. I was like, "Wow, this is so much better. Look at her, she's learned."
Speaking of, I have an essay that I will be sending to you in the next few days.
For me to proofread it for you?
Yes,
You
please.
you know what? I think that people really should rely on someone to look at their work. My experience is that because I know what I intended to say, I read what I intended to say and not what's actually there. So I think it's good to have somebody else review your work. And then another thing that I would do, like when I'm proofreading my own work, after I've read it all the way through, then I'll read it backwards. Not word for word backwards, but the paragraphs backwards. So I'll read, say if it's like 5 paragraphs, I'll start with paragraph 5 and I'll read that. And then I'll go up to paragraph 4. Sometimes reading something that's flowing in context also makes it very easy for you to not see the mistakes.
Mhm.
So reading it, like I said, reading it out of order is also a good way to catch some things. So you're looking forward to cadavers. Don't you have like a pregnant, I don't know, what is it? A pregnant mannequin? What is it that you have at your
Do we have a simulation lab at my school,
Mhm.
and we have animatronics that can create real scenarios. So, like one of the clinicals, the animatronic will have a live birth, and it'll birth the baby. It'll bleed. It'll scream. The baby will come out crying. It's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah.
What? Oh, yeah. They let you take pictures of that, or can you video that?
I'll ask. I see them doing it every Saturday, so maybe I'll just like be behind the glass recording it.
Alright, so you're looking forward to the cadavers. And then your most challenging subject so far, I guess that's gonna be your stats class, huh?
Yeah, definitely stats.
So have you had to change how you study at all? Like, from the way that you studied when you were in high school, now that you're in college, have you had to change it at all?
Yes. When
Like
I first started, like, my first week of doing homework, at first I was like, "Okay, 3 assignments a class." Like, "Okay." And then I clicked on the assignments, and I read through the assignments, and I was like, "Oh, these aren't regular assignments. These are assignments." Like, you have to sit there and actually do it. One of my assignments for my bio class was, like, a lab on your computer, and it's this thing called Labster, and it takes, like, an hour to do. So I'm like, me, the procrastinator I was just like, "Okay, like, I'll just do it on Sunday." I spent 12 hours doing homework to complete everything. So, yes, I have had to change my way of completing homework and studying. It's definitely throughout the week now. It's not just one day. And it also helps me when it comes to, like, exams and midterms. We get
Mhm.
our study guides beforehand, so I can go through my study guide week 1 of my class. So I do that every week as well.
And rather than waiting until the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just had so much reading that I had to do and when I was in college, and I know that's probably everyone's story, but so many people read a lot faster than I do. I don't feel like I read slowly, but I would come to find that I am apparently reading slowly because when I'm starting a page and someone else is starting the same page, I'm halfway through the page and then they're turning the page. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Are they reading this?" So I feel like I read at a conversational speed, and I feel like other people are just like, like just whipping through it. So anyhow, all that to say that when you're not speed reading or when you're reading at a conversational pace while you are trying to study material, because that's how I am able to really comprehend it. And I also take notes while I'm reading. That for me would take hours. So I had to divide and conquer. I had to figure out, okay, so say for example, if chapter 5 is due next week, then I have to figure out how many pages are in chapter 5, how many days until next week, and then divide those so that I'm reading a certain number of pages each day so that I'll be done by, next week. And I had to do that with all of my classes. So it really required me to be super organized because I had to know from each of my classes, like what chapters were due when was the exam going to be, and then how do I make sure that I've read all of the material that's required for the exam a week before the exam is actually going to occur. So what have you learned so far about how you learn?
I need things to be broken down to me, but I can learn in many ways. Like, I'm a visual learner. I can learn by just listening. But what
Mhm.
really helps me is like when stuff is broken down into steps. So for my first math class, my teacher, I didn't understand her way of teaching. So what I would do is I would go into ChatGPT and ask them, like, how do I break down this question? Like, can you break down this question to see how I can solve it? And I would go and I would solve the question with them. And then I would do a practice question and then be able to solve it that way. So when you break
Ah.
it down and you show me the steps, I can do it that way.
That's good. That's good to use Chat GPT as your tutor.
Yeah, it's actually a great tutor.
That's awesome. Now you were also on a different conversation that we were having. You were telling me about this podcast, like taking your notes or something and making it a podcast. Share that with the listeners because I thought that was super cool.
Okay, so another way I learn is by listening. And NotebookLM, it's a Google attachment, and you can put your notes, like you can insert them, and it'll make a podcast from your notes. And when I tell you it breaks down your notes so well, it literally like teaches me better than my teacher sometimes. It summed up my whole bio class. It was good. And, like, it's actually fun to listen to because it's like a two-person conversation, like how we're having like a podcast right now. It's
Yeah.
just like 2 people talking back and forth, and it could be about any topic. So I definitely recommend Notebook LM.
I was so blown away. I took my because I've been studying cybersecurity, and I took my cybersecurity notes and I uploaded them like just like you told me, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, listen to them having a conversation off of my notes. I thought that was,
Mhm.
I mean, the ways in which AI can be used for good. That was fascinating.
Notebook LM has saved my life. I wonder who like came up with that. They need a raise.
I love it. All right. Building a rapport with your instructors, that has saved me a few times. So tell me, are you currently building a rapport with your instructors? Do they have office hours? And if so, do you go to their office hours?
My professors do have office hours. I don't attend my professor's office hours for just my personal reasoning. I use tutor.com
Okay.
instead of going to office hours. Tutor.com is offered 24/7. My
Hmm.
professor's office hours are times that I'm unavailable.
Every time? All of
Mhm.
them?
It's like before class or like after class, like my Saturday class, I go to my internship, so I can't go there before. And then
Hmm.
my regular class, I'm at work.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. I have a challenge for you. Your psych class. My challenge for you is to go to your professor's office hours. You have a midterm coming up, right?
It's due this Sunday, this upcoming Sunday.
So when's that professor's office hours?
I don't know, I can check. I'm pretty sure it's before the class.
That's my challenge. If you can't do an office hours before the midterm, my challenge for you is to do office hours before the final.
Okay.
All right? So
Yeah.
so the reason why I'm giving you that challenge is because my experience has been that there is so much value to be gained when you meet with your professor outside of class. Sometimes there's information that they think they said and they didn't. And so the environment is a little bit more relaxed, and I have had an instructor give me information about a paper, part of the expectations that he wanted in the paper that we had to do for the class. It just wasn't in the syllabus. I was like, how was anybody supposed to know this? But because I had met with him, I had that insight. And so I challenge you to meet with your psych professor. Even if it's just dropping in, saying hello, let them know how you're preparing. And then you could even ask, "Hey, I'm preparing in this kind of way. Is there any additional thing I should consider? Or, I'm just trying to make sure, like, I'm striving to get a A in this class. Any additional tips?" Whatever it is, just meet with the professor. Just do it. So, yes, that's my challenge for you. Go to your professor's office hours. And yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about it because by the way, Aryss is a freshman and she's in this accelerated program, as you already know. But one of the things that we're going to be doing on the Academic Survival podcast is we're going to be following her journey. So that's why I'm giving you that challenge. I want to hear back. How did the office hours go? Well, as a nursing student, do you ever feel overwhelmed?
I think I feel more overwhelmed with just balancing my life and school rather than school. Because right now I'm still in like general education, but
Hmm.
and I'm trying to still be able to go out and have fun at the same time too, and like school and work, and just making sure that my priorities are straight before I go into core when it's clinicals 4 days a week, 12 hours. I'm just trying to get a little bit of my life, you know, right now, especially because, again, everybody in my program currently is like they're adults and they've experienced like their 18s and things like that. So they're kind of just like, okay, so be it. Like, so be the life. I have my children, I go home.
And you're trying to like go out and party.
Maybe not even necessarily party. It's just like,
Mm.
like hang out with your friends, go to those dinners and stuff like that. Cause sometimes I won't have time. Well, in core, I won't have time for it at all. I won't even have time to go to work for that core. Like it'll in the core.
So going back to studying for a second, how do you know when you're finished studying?
Oh, I
Like,
have a saying.
oh, okay. Tell me about it.
Just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. Okay. If
That's how you
you're
know you're done studying?
yeah, if you're tired and you're trying to fight to keep your eyes open, girl, go to sleep. Close that computer and go to bed because what you're learning right now, you're not gonna remember it when you wake up. Go to sleep. That
Yeah.
little hour, that extra hour that you're spending studying when you could be letting your brain process it. And,
Yes.
honestly, you can just turn on the podcast and play it while you're sleeping. So, I don't know, just go to sleep.
Go to sleep. That's really good advice. I have fought through I remember goodness gracious, I remember writing a paper, staying up late, like pushing through, forcing myself, "You gotta get this done, you gotta get this done," and I remember pushing and forcing my way through writing a paper, and when I woke up the next day and proofread it, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I was like, "I wasted that time, I could have been sleeping." I mean, it made no sense.
Get on
Yeah, go to
sleep.
sleep. I like
Go to
it. Go
sleep.
to sleep. So out of all that you've done so far within school, like, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud of, like, where I am right now. I show some people my journey on social media, and there's been a few girls, well, people in general that have been like, "Oh, like, you're inspiring me with school. Like, I love your
Aw.
dedication." Yeah, there's been a few girls like that. Like, "I love your dedication," and, or people just asking me questions about how nursing school is going, like, so I really appreciate that. I like that too. I don't think
Wow.
that I would follow my journey with school for a long time because I was listening to this sermon not too long ago
Mm,
talking about how people pray for you or pray on you. And, I
mm,
just connected that to my life. So, I won't be I won't be allowing people to follow my journey for a long time, but like from the responses that I have gotten so far, like I really do appreciate it.
mhm.
And yeah, just really proud of how I've gotten here, whether even though it wasn't my original plan. So,
Right. Not your plan, but God's plan.
amen. We're on his timing.
Yeah. So if you were designing a support system for first year nursing students, what would it include?
Definitely a calendar. A calendar is super important. Not even just for nursing students, but for students in general. Because, you think that you know when that assignment's due, but you overlooked it and it's available until January 31st, but it was due December 29th. So, um,
Okay.
yeah. And then just like really time management. Managing your time is super duper important. Whether it's like, spending 2 hours on this or 2 hours on that, or like, just taking a break for 30 minutes. I feel like I would include that in a pamphlet of a list of things that I would do. I would organize a pamphlet for students
Okay.
and definitely encouraging notes. I found that writing stuff on my mirror every day, just little encouraging notes and like aspirations and things like that, just to say, help me get through the day. Like, you see right now we have this thing where we see everybody is in their life and they're already established, and us as college students or nursing students, we're trying to get there, and it gets stressful, and you just need that little push to get you through your day. Like, you will get there, you just have to wait your time. So
Mm.
I just that's another thing that, like, I think a lot of people need to know, and that should be in a pamphlet. Definitely having a support system behind you as well. Some people, not everybody has a support system, and some people are doing it on their own, but your support system doesn't have to be family. It could be friends that you make in school.
Yeah.
You know, Surrounding yourself by people who want the same things for themselves
So
are
important.
really, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because they help remind you where you are. Like when you have friends, but they're like, "Hey, you wanna go grab dinner tonight?" And then you have a classmate who's like, "Hey, let's work on stats tonight." You could be like, "Okay, well, yeah, I know where I need to be," and choosing to do homework doesn't feel as bad or as
Hmm.
boring when somebody is in that struggle with you. So my next question is kind of similar to the one that I just asked you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So if you were going to teach high school students the Aryss Richardson strategy for transitioning from high school to college, what would be the top 3 rules?
One, start early.
Okay.
That head start will get you far.
Okay.
Number two would be staying organized.
Okay.
When I say staying organized, maybe you need to make a new email or a Gmail account and use that for everything, like for all of your applications and, because you can
Mm.
emails and,
That's
you
good.
just everything school. So, definitely
Yeah.
organization.
That's really good. That's really good. So that you're not overlooking the important messages that are in there. All right. And then rule number 3 for the
I think
Aryss Richardson strategy for transitioning from high school to college. What's number 3?
enjoying it. Enjoy your last year of high school. It goes by so fast and you separate from your friends that you've known for a long time. So I
Mm.
think really enjoying it and cherishing every moment, that's super important. This is the last time that we're all going to go to the same school that we were forced to go to. Definitely just get like every experience you can, like the senior sunrise, the senior sunset, hanging out with your family because you're going to be living in those dorms, sleeping in your comfortable bed because that XL twin is not going to justice you. So yeah, just definitely enjoying it. But if it was on a more serious note, maybe like getting in contact with like an academic advisor,
Okay.
maybe maybe even one from your school. People will advocate for you if they see that you want it for yourself. So definitely getting in contact with make a friend in the office that can help you, that will send you the scholarships that pop up on their desk or, you
That's
know,
good.
yeah. So I think that I had somebody that advocated for me. His name is Mr. Mayville. And when I
Mhm.
tell he was like my uncle. He worked so hard for us, me and Issa, just to see us succeed and graduate. Like I owe it to Mr. Mayville. Like when I tell you, when I finish school, I will be back around to give Mr. Mayville, like, like, yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayville. Thank you.
That's
So,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. In what way are you becoming a gift to the world?
every day I learn something new, whether it's about myself or how I talk to somebody else or just like my place and my calling. I say that I'm becoming a gift by living out my calling. There's nothing I feel like God wants more than for you to be in your calling.
Mm.
Like when you're in your calling, you're in your right place. This is where you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to deliver and like, give yourself to people. Like I'm supposed to help you by this. This is like, my present at your front door. Like again, like I said, I wasn't my original plan for myself wasn't to be in nursing school. It was to, be at Southern for pre-med, but I did not end up there. Like everything I tried to do backfired. And then I sat in a sermon at church and he was like, God's telling you not to move. He's like, I don't know who I'm talking to in here, but God is telling you not to move. And then I get a call the next day from the school that I go to, and they're like, hey, we wanted to tell you more about our BSN program. I take the nursing school entrance exam and pass with an 80 in a day with no studying. Like I'm not gonna say my graduation date, but my graduation date aligns so well. It's crazy. Like I feel like living in your calling and doing what God has asked me to do is how I'm gonna be a gift to the world.
I love it. So, my final question, what advice do you have for future nursing students graduating from high school?
If I was to like sum it up into a few sentences, it's not a race and it's not a competition.
Mm.
Like everybody makes it seem like it's competitive. Not everybody's your enemy. Help each other. I've learned that like throughout my journey in school too. Like I had a classmate that wasn't telling me all the information they knew. And I was like, you know what? Like I'm not gonna help them anymore. Then I had a conversation with Dr. McDonald. I was like, actually, that's not the right way to go about this. Like we have to help each other. So I feel like just under like again, like aligning yourself with peers, like people who want the same thing for yourself, like for themselves, and like just getting around like people who have goals, not even just like nurses, people who have goals in life and want to be somewhere is who you need to be next to.
What I gather from it is be around your people. Like, find your people and be around them.
And stay with them. Not
Yeah,
everybody's your but not everybody's your friend.
yeah, and find out who's who. and be with those people. There's nothing like a group of people going in the same direction, striving for the same things. And then it's like, it's so wonderful when you get to all like rejoice, like, we made it.
Mhm.
You did it. Like other people that are like genuinely happy for you, right?
I'm glad I'm entering with the cohort I'm entering in with because I
Okay.
know those people and I actually like literally love them. Like they were
Oh,
so sweet. We worked together like before our final exam. We all were in the same room together and we were just writing on the board. I don't know if I showed you the videos, but like we were writing on the board all the information we knew and we were just sitting there reading it over and over again. Then we took our exam and we all passed.
oh,
So, yeah, like, I love them, and I think that if we all are in the same, like, core classes, like, we will do everything to help each other. There's nothing better than a helping hand. If
yeah.
I can tell you information that I know is correct, and you can tell me the information you know is correct, then how can we be wrong?
You know twice as much.
We're better together.
Yeah. All right. Miss Aryss Richardson in her first year of nursing school. Thank you for coming on the Academic Survival Podcast. We are going to be following your journey. I'm just really excited. I don't know how often we're going to check in, but we'll figure it out. We're going to check in at least once a year. And if we can do so more, then we will. I mean, if anything that is hot off the press that you've experienced that we need to let the audience know. Maybe we'll drop in earlier rather than later, but we are going to see you again. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's it for today on Academic Survival. If you want to share your story on how you survived your freshman year of college, you can reach me at info@chandralmcdonald.com. We'll be back next week with more ways to survive your academic journey. Until then, happy studying.